The narrative is that ChatGPT will reshape our reality, that we enter the new era, a sort of digital gold, an incredible thinking machine, a PhD level expert capable of building empires from a single prompt. And all of that in a matter of seconds. That this would be the inflection point of artificial general intelligence. But what if this isn't the truth? What if this is the most expensive marketing narrative ever constructed? After all, the whole point of marketing is to make us feel or think a certain way. I've spent my time deconstructing GPT-5, pushing it past its advertised limits to find the signal in the noise. And I'm here to show you what's behind the curtain. The internet is a sea of noise, breathless hype from those who barely used it, and bitter resentment from those whose expectations were misplaced. The reality is more nuanced and far more useful. In this video, we cut through the chatter. We'll expose the gap between the polished narrative and functional reality. By the end, you'll understand what GPT-5 is as a term, not what the internet or even OpenAI wants you to believe it is. Before analyzing the tool, we must first analyze the hype. We can't ignore the narrative. It's the source of the fear, disappointment, and the crazy enormous expectations. For months, the story wasn't one of an incremental progress, but of an paradigm shift, like we broke a critical point of human history. Whispers of AGI, the holy grail where a machine gains the true cognitive ability, became the dominant frequency. Influencers and news outlets painted a picture of a world in the verge of total disruption. The claims were monumental. We were told it would solve humanity's great challenges, from climate change to disease. We saw sleek demos of its generating complex application from a single casual sentence. The message was clear. This is not a better chatbot. This is a new class of intelligence, an intelligence that would render entire professions obsolete. Developers, lawyers, analysts, writers, and even doctors eventually. The narrative was that ChatGPT-5 was coming for their identity. OpenAI's own CEO fueled this fire, comparing the AI's creation to the Manhattan Project, which was a massive undertaking by US during World War II to develop the atomic bomb, invoking a sense of world-altering power. This was a product marketing. It was a modern myth-making. The stage was set for a revolution. And then on August 7th of 2025, it was released. The narrative became more complex. OpenAI's announcement celebrated state-of-the-art performance, but many users felt a profound disconnect. The promised revolution felt like a turbulent and, for some, whole update. This is the core conflict, a technology that is simultaneously a massive leap forward and a significant letdown. The most persuasive myth of ChatGPT-5 is intelligence, that it thinks, or a chain of thought. It's not a human thinking process. Obviously, the marketing reinforces this, with OpenAI calling it smartest model yet and highlighting its extended reasoning. It achieves superhuman scores on academic benchmarks. 94.6% of the AIME math competition, 85.7% on the GPQA grade level science test, and all of that without external tools. From the outside, these metrics look like cognition, but here's the first principle. GPT-5 is not intelligence in the way a human is. It has no understanding, no consciousness, no genuine reasoning, at least not yet. What it possesses is the most advanced pattern matching engine ever created. In other words, LLMs like GPT-5 are probabilistic. They predict the most statistical plausible next word named token. Your mental model for this should not be a brain, but a library. Imagine a library containing every piece of text ever written by all humanity. Now, imagine a librarian who has memorized it all. When you ask a question, the librarian doesn't understand it. It performs a statistical calculation to determine the most probable sequence of words that should follow the prompt, based on the trillions of data points it was trained on. So it's more like the librarian doesn't memorize every book word for word, but instead absorb the rules, the styles, and the patterns of writing. Its reasoning feature is an illusion, born for better training on multi-step processes like chain of thought. It's a statistical parlor tree, not exactly cognition from the human point of view. This is the reason why, despite its PhD level benchmarks, it might fail at problems requiring baseline common sense. Users have reported simple math errors and failures in logic puzzles a child could navigate. One critic noted it scored worse than competitors on certain reasoning tasks and must be prompt to think step by step to prevent logical fallacies. And don't get me wrong, this doesn't diminish its power. The ability to process complex academic and professional data is a monumental feat, but we must be clear and precise about the mechanism. It is surely a brilliant mimic, but expert at statistical inference. It is a tool, not a thinker. Confusing the two is the first of the most costly mistakes you can possibly make right now. The intelligence we experience every day as humans is more like a mirage for ChatGPT-5. The next narrative to examine is creativity. OpenAI's launch materials describe GPT-5 as a capable writing collaborator with enhanced language capabilities. The model can generate poetry, assist with scripts, and help brainstorming ideas. The broader AI discourse often frames such capabilities as creative brain thoughts. However, understanding GPT-5's actual mechanism reveals important distinctions. The model operates through statistical pattern recognition rather than generating creativity. It processes and recombines elements from its training data, which includes vast amounts of human-created content, to generate outputs that follow learned patterns and structures. When GPT-5 writes a poem about Mars in Shakespearean style, it's working on statistical patterns it learned from Shakespeare's works and science fiction literature. The output may appear novel, but it represents a sophisticated recombination of existing elements rather than true creative origination. The question of whether this constitutes creativity depends largely on how we define the term. If creativity means novel recombination and stylistic variations, GPT-5 demonstrates considerable capability. If creativity, on the other side, represents conscious intention, emotional experience, or genuinely unprecedented conceptual breakthroughs, the model operates differently than human creators. In practical terms, GPT-5 functions as a powerful tool for creative assistance. It can help overcome writer's block, suggest stylistic variations, and rapidly generate content in different formats and styles. Writers and creators can use it to explore ideas, experiment with different approaches, or produce first drafts that they then refine and personalize. The model's strength lies not in replacing human creativity, but in augmenting it. It serves as a sophisticated creative pattern that can generate raw material, suggest alternatives, and help creators explore possibilities that they might not have considered. The human remains essential for providing direction, guidance, making judgments about quality and appreciation, and adding the personal taste or perspective that transforms generated content into meaningful creative work. This leads to the fear at the center of the hype that GPT-5 will trigger mass job replacement. With its capacity to write code, draft legal documents, analyze data, the anxiety is actually understandable. The truth is, GPT-5 is not a job eliminator, and I personally don't think that it's designed for that. It's more a task automator. This is a critical distinction. It will not replace a competent developer or a sharp lawyer or a creative strategist, but it will fundamentally change how they operate. Let's take a simple example. The calculator, which is the classic one we use, its invention did not eliminate mathematicians. It eliminated the tedious, time-consuming task of manual calculation. It creates leverage, freeing professionals to focus on higher-order problems, on strategy, analysis, and judgment. Well, in case you still don't see the point, let me tell you a short story. It's the 9th century, and a brilliant Persian mathematician named Al-Khwarizmi is about to revolutionize the world forever. But he has no idea that his work will one day power your smartphone, your Netflix recommendations, and even the algorithm that brought you to this very video. Al-Khwarizmi introduced something that seems obvious to us now, but was revolutionary back then: the numbers, from 0 to 9. These Indo-Arabic numerals replaced clunky Roman numerals and gave us something crucial: the concept of 0 in our base 10 system. Why does this matter? Because without 0, modern computing simply could not exist. Here's why this gets really interesting. While everyone else was still using abacuses, those wooden frames with sliding beads, Al-Khwarizmi developed something far more powerful: a step-by-step procedure for solving math problems. He wrote detailed instructions for addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division using his new number system. These weren't just random tips. These were systematic, repeatable processes that anyone could follow to get the right answer every single time. Sounds familiar? That's because he had just invented the algorithm. The medieval scholars were so impressed they named this new method algorithm after Al-Khwarizmi himself. His book was called Algorithmi, the numeral on the room, literally Al-Khwarizmi on Indian numbers. Fast forward to the 20th century, and that word evolved into algorithm, the foundation of every piece of technology we use today. Every time you get a personalized recommendation on YouTube, use GPS to navigate, make an online purchase, even unlock your phone with face recognition, you're using the same fundamental concept that Al-Khwarizmi pioneered. You also have to think of AI as a crazy good tool that gives you leverage. GPT-5 is a statistical calculator for language and logic. It excels at specific, well-defined tasks. It can fix bugs in a GitHub repository with high accuracy. After deconstructing the hype, all the marketing decoration, you might assume I see no significant value in GPT-5. That's actually quite the opposite. Once you strip away the impassable narrative, what remains is a tool with specific high-leverage capabilities. The key is to see it for what it is. First, it is exceptional at complex multi-step workflow. Its ability to follow sequential instructions and utilize multiple tools without error is a significant evolution. On one benchmark for a telecom task, it scored 96.7%, where other models failed to reach half of that. For system automation or debugging across services, GPT-5 is a far more relatable executor. Second, its multimodal reasoning is a state of the art. It can analyze and reason about images, charts, and diagrams in conjunction with text. This is a profound shift. You can fit it a complex scientific paper, visuals included, and have it distill the findings. It moves us toward a more intuitive human-computer interface. It is an incredibly potent coding assistant. The benchmarks are impressive, with scores of 94.9, with scores of 74.9 on SWE bench and 88% of either polyglot for code editing. But beyond the matrix, it has a better aesthetic sense for font design, and it's superior at debugging large code bases. Fourth, its context window is now massive, with the API version handling up to 400,000 tokens. This is the equivalent of holding a conversation where the AI remembers every word of a 300-page book discussed at the beginning. It provides project continuity where all the models would fail. Finally, it is significantly safer. OpenAI has made progress in reducing hallucination and sycophancy, where the model simply agrees with the user. Responses are more direct and factual, even if some perceive them as less creative. This reliability is essential for any serious application. The greatest risk for GPT-5 isn't a Hollywood apocalypse. The real danger is more subtle, and it's already here. It's that people will abdicate their thinking to the tool. The danger is the manager who, believing the hype, fires all his writing team, only to find his brain's voice became sterile, generic, and error-prone. The danger is the overwhelmed doctor who outsources a critical diagnosis to the AI, missing a human nuance the machine was never designed to see. The danger is the developer who blindly copies a block of code, inadequately introducing a subtle security vulnerability into an application. It is the outsourcing of responsibility when we mistake the tool for an infallible oracle instead of flawed but powerful assistant. We design our own failure. The current wave of disappointment is a direct consequence of misaligned expectations. People were promised the God machine. They received a highly effective tool. The chasm between the two is vast. So what is the final verdict or disappointment? It's neither. It's a paradigm-shifting tool, rapid and thick layer of marketing narrative. The progress is not a vertical leap to AGI. It is a slow, steady climb defined by real-world limitations and trade-offs. What we have is an advanced assistant. It can summarize, code, and brainstorm, accelerating human productivity in ways that will have profound societal impact. But it's not a substitute for human thought, creativity, or accountability. The key is to approach it with clarity, understand its leverage points, and more importantly, its limitations. Be the human in the loop. Use it to augment your intelligence, not to replace it. The future will not be run by AI, but will be run by the people who know how to master it. Now that you understand the reality of GPT-5, beyond the hype and the backlash, what mental models have you discarded? And how will you leverage this tool to build your future? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I'll do my best to read them all. If you want to stay ahead of the curve and get the signal without the noise, make sure you subscribe. And thanks for watching.